Xin chào.
Hello.
你好. Konnichiwa. สวัสดี.
안녕하세요.
Trời đất ơi, gì mà quá trời thứ tiếng vậy nè. Cơ mà mỗi em bé sinh ra trong mỗi đất nước khác nhau thì có cách học tiếng mẹ đẻ khác nhau hả ta? Do you know how many languages are there around the world? 100 or 200 or 1000? Nope. Actually, there are 2,750 languages around the world. And guess what? Babies are quite mother tongue in the same way. Really? In the same way? How could it be? Ta-da! If you have the same question, watch this video right away. This video is about the first language acquisition. So now let's have a look at our agenda, shall we? The innateness hypothesis, the critical age hypothesis, the acquisition schedule, and the acquisition process. Firstly, let's have a look at the innateness hypothesis. According to Noam Chomsky, children are born with the innate ability to acquire a language and the knowledge of fundamental principles of grammar. Oh, but you need to know that it is not a fact, and it is the strongest hypothesis in second language acquisition. Next is the critical age hypothesis. There is a critical age for language acquisition without special teaching or learning. But in order to have the language acquisition, a child must be able to hear that language samples or input with baby talk or caregiver speech. So now we move to the acquisition schedule. There are 5 stages, which are cooing, babbling, the one-word stage, the two-word stage, and the telegraphic speech. Firstly, cooing. Cooing is the earliest use of speech-like sounds. In this stage, children produce sequences of vowel-like sounds, particularly E and U. They also create sounds similar to the vowel consonants like K or G. So, you can hear the roar of cute puppy trying to convey a message. Next is babbling. To reach this stage, children need to have an input which is already mentioned above. Around 6 and 8 months is when children can sit up and produce different vowels and consonants such as ba 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 or ga ga ga. They are able to produce nasal sounds. And around 10 and 11 months, they become capable of using their vocalizations to express emotions and emphasis.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Now we move to the one-word stage. Between 12 and 18 months, single terms are uttered for everyday objects such as milk, cookie, or cat. There is a phenomenon in this stage called holophrastic. Children in this stage use one word to indicate a phrase or a sentence. For example, milk to indicate, "Mommy, I want to drink milk."
Now say, Raiden. Say, Daddy. Say, Grandma. Say, Carson.
Next is the two-word stage. This is the stage that they begin to have syntax. This stage begins around 18 to 20 months. By the time the child is 2 years old, a variety of combination like mama dress, more milk, big boat will usually have appeared.
Big tractor, yeah.
Biggie. The bed. Biggie.
The last stage in the acquisition schedule is telegraphic speech. Between 2 and 2.5 years old, the child begins producing string of words, lexical morpheme, in phrases or sentences such as cat drink milk, shoe all wet.
When baby better is big, I teach him how to go potty and take a bath and how do all the letters.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And be on the bed and drink water.
So now let's have a look at the acquisition process. Do children learn through imitation? Children do not simply learn what adults teach them. Do children learn through correction? There is no use for us trying to correct their mistakes because they form a sentence in their own way. There are 3 characteristics in the acquisition process, which are developing morphology, developing syntax, developing semantic, and remember that they are all go together. First, we go to developing morphology. Around 2 and 2.5 years old, children incorporate some inflectional and functional morphemes. The first to appear is the ing form in expressions such as cat sitting or mommy reading book. However, children can overgeneralize the apparent rule like adding s to form foots instead of fit. This is called overgeneralization.
Told her I want to go to law school. What? It was like, no, Mila. You need to. So we get to the place, and I'm shook. The teacher's saying the kids are insane. So insane. There's pooping everywhere. I walk in. I'm like, but I'm still alive.
Next, we go to developing syntax. Children are able to create their new sentences structure without imitation. There are 3 stages in forming questions and forming negative. Stage 1 occurs between 18 and 26 months. Stage 2 occurs between 22 to 30 months. Stage 3 occurs between 24 to 40 months. In forming questions, the child's first stage has 2 procedures. Simply add a WH form like where to the beginning of the expression. Where kitty, or utter the expression with a rise in intonation toward the end. Sit here. In the second stage, more complex expressions can be formed, but the rising intonation strategy continues to be used. You want eat? It is noticeable that more WH forms such as what and why come into use, like why are you smiling? In the third stage, the change in position of the auxiliary verb in English questions, called inversion, becomes evident in the child's speech, but doesn't automatically spread to all WH question types. In fact, some children beginning school may still refer to form WH questions without type of structure found in adult speech. They tend to say, why Kitty can't do it? Instead of, why can't Kitty do it? Apart from these problems with WH questions, and continuing trouble with the morphology of verbs. Stage 3 questions are generally quite close to the adult model. In the case of negatives, stage 1 seems to involve a simple strategy of putting no or not at the beginning. In some cases, the negative may be used for denial, like I am not doing it, while in other circumstances, it may be used to express a desire. I don't want to do it, but the utterance doesn't change. At this stage, both no and not can be attached to nouns like no mitten and verbs like not sit there. In the second stage, the additional negative forms don't and can't appear, and with no and not are increasingly used in front of the verb rather than at the beginning of the utterance. At this stage, children seem to be using the form don't as a single unit, with no connection to the alternative do not, probably because the contracted form of not is simply not heard as a distinct element in speech. The third stage sees the incorporation of other auxiliary forms such as didn't and won't, while the typical stage 1 forms disappear. A very late acquisition is the negative form isn't, with the result that some stage 2 forms continue to be used for quite a long time, as exemplified in this not ice cream. So now we move to developing semantic. During the holophrastic stage, many children use their limited vocabulary to refer to a large number of unrelated objects. When a child overextends the meaning of a word on the basis of similarities of shape, sound, and signs, and to a lesser extent, movement and texture, this is called overextension. In terms of hyponym, children tend to pick up the level in a hyponymous shape. For example, the word animal, fish, and shark. They tend to pick up the word fish rather than animal or shark. And about antonym, children acquire antinomous relation fairly late, usually after the stage of 5. This is the end of our video. Thanks for watching.